What's good, y'all? It's your boy Saint Kwam back with another video, and today we're going to be taking a look at the 10 hardest beats in hip-hop history. Production is one of the major components of what makes a good hip-hop song. Some would argue it's the most important part of the song, so I wanted to highlight 10 of the best beats ever made. I'm going to be ranking these beats based on quality of production, how advanced the beats sounded when they came out, and the impact the beats had on the larger hip-hop genre. I also think this video would be a great chance to highlight some of the legendary producers in the game. Before we get into the top 10, let's take a look at some of the honorable mentions. The first honorable mention is The Next Episode, produced by Dr.Dre. This is one of the most cinematic hip-hop instrumentals ever produced with its iconic intro. The production quality is some of the best I've ever heard. Dre beats always sound so crisp and clean. He's a known perfectionist, and this beat is perfect. We'll be hearing more about Dr. Dre in the list later on. The next honorable mention is B.M.F, produced by Lex Luger. This is going to be one of the newer songs on the list, but right at the beginning of the 2010s, producer Lex Luger was having a moment, ushering in a maximalist approach to trap production that was taking over the airwaves. I think B.M.F is one of the hardest beats from that era, and it still knocks like an earthquake every time it's played. The third and last honorable mention is AMBITIONZ as a RIDAH, produced by Daz Dillinger, a West Coast producer that was part of D.R.E. This beat is one of my personal favorites, a quintessential West Coast banger that could also be considered lowrider music. It's a good mix of minimalist production with key touches that make it pop. Tupac did his thing on the track, but the beat is legendary also. Okay, now that we have the honorable mentions out of the way, let's jump into the top 10. At number 10, we have In Paris, produced by Hit Boy. With star power like Jay-Z and Kanye West playing center stage on this hit, I could still argue that Hit Boy did the heavy lifting. Spoiler, this is the only beat from the 2010s that made it onto the top 10 list, but it's been 10 plus years since it came out, and it still sounds fresh and definitely sounded futuristic when it came out. It's a club banger for sure, and it paved the way for Hit Boy to have a legendary career as a producer, working on multiple projects with Nas for his King's Disease series. Drake had that line in 0 to 100 where he raps, "They should call me Hit Boy cause I got all the hits, boy," and that definitely signaled his arrival in the game. In Paris also had additional production from Kanye West and Mike Dean that gave the beat those elevated touches that made it more than just any other instrumental. Number 9 is I Got 5 on It, produced by Tone Capone. The song was performed by West Coast rap duo Lunas, and it also featured the R&B singer Michael Marshall. The beat had a resurgence in popularity when it was featured in Jordan Peele's movie Us, but it's been bumping through speakers all across the globe since it came out in '95. I think one thing that makes this beat stand out is how immediately recognizable it is. After you hear those first notes in the intro to the track, you already know what it is. It definitely has that horror X-Files vibe going for it, so I can see why it was featured in a horror movie. The beat is simple but effective, and the way the different parts come together make it one of the most iconic beats of all time. The number 8 hardest hip-hop beat of all time goes to All About the Benjamins, produced by D.R.E, who was part of the Hitmen, the production team for Bad Boy. The song was released as a posse cut that featured Diddy, or Puff Daddy at the time, The Lox, Lil Kim, and Notorious B.I.G. This beat is definitely a hip-hop classic. When I came up with the idea for the video, it was one of the first beats that came to mind. This beat stood out because it was hard-hitting, and it also featured an iconic beat switch at the start of Biggie's verse, which was very novel at the time. The first part of the song has a sample from Do It For Love by Love Unlimited, and the second portion has a sample from It's Great To Be Her by the Jackson 5. When I created the list of beats from memory, this was close to the top of the list, but when I played it back, I was a bit underwhelmed by how monotonous the first section of the beat was, but it's still a classic beat that paved the way for a lot of hip-hop production that came after it. Number 7 goes to You Don't Know, produced by Just Blaze. This track was performed by none other than Jay-Z and was featured on his legendary Blueprint album. Just Blaze was a Rockefeller in-house producer known for chopping up samples, resulting in some soulful production that took over the rap game in the early 2000s. This beat features a sample from I'm Not to Blame by Bobby Bird, and in contrast to a lot of other Just Blaze beats that sound more soulful, this track is menacing and sounds like a hustler anthem fit for both the streets and stadiums. Just Blaze was also known for incorporating samples with vocals in them, just like he did on his hit with Dipset, Oh Boy. In this case, it was a sample quoting the title of the track, You Don't Know What to Do. The beat literally sounds like it's on fire, and I believe it's one of Just Blaze's best beats, and that says a lot. Number 6 is gonna be Get Your Freak On, produced by legendary producer Timbaland. He made this track for the great Missy Elliott, one of the most innovative female rappers to touch the mic, and it was a huge hit. Anyone that grew up in the MTV era heard this beat everywhere. It's another one of those beats that is instantly recognizable. Timbaland is known for incorporating unconventional sounds and samples in his music, like babies crying or his own quirky beatboxing sounds, and this track is no different, with a sample from an Indian song called Larka 1.1 by Zero G and Master Dil Bahar. It's these left field inclusions in this beat that made Timbaland so genius when it came to producing hip hop hits. This beat is like very few others in the genre, and when I listened back to the instrumental, I was just blown away. Futuristic and ahead of his time are understatements. This beat is simply timeless. Number 5 is Shook One's Part 2, produced by Havoc. This track was performed by Mobb Deep, and Prodigy's verse from this track was featured on my top 10 verses of all time video, so go check that out after this if you haven't. But this beat sounds so New York. It sounds like you're riding on the subway in the city or cruising through Queensbridge projects. The instrumental also sounds so 90s, and it's one of the beats that define the sound of the era in New York rap. It's a menacing beat with a sample from Jessica by Herbie Hancock. A lot of the prominent hip-hop production coming out of New York at the time sampled jazz records, so that's no surprise. This beat became even more legendary with its inclusion in 8 Mile, and it's a beat that has been used in countless cyphers and freestyles since it came out, and it's also been sampled in over 400 songs, which is crazy. Number 4 goes to Back That Ass Up, produced by Mannie Fresh. This song was performed by Juvenile, Mannie Fresh, and Lil Wayne, and it went on to become one of the biggest hits out of the legendary Cash Money crew. This beat is insane. It's one of those beats that could come out today and would still sound fresh. You can't help but move when it comes on because it has so much bounce to it, and it's reflective of its southern heritage. It has a killer sample from Underground by UGK, and Mannie Fresh had a unique sound that was street but triumphant and heavy hitting. He went on to make countless other hits with artists under the Cash Money umbrella, but this beat has to be his crown jewel. It's been sampled in many songs since its released, with one of the more notable tracks being Practice by Drake. Now we're getting into the top 3 hardest hip-hop beats of all time. If you made it this far into the video, smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. At number 3, we have New York State of Mind, produced by DJ Premier. Primo produced this track for a young Nas during his recording sessions for Illmatic. Just like Shook One's Part 2, this track represents the sound of New York hip-hop in the 90s. Grimy, dark, and sinister. My favorite part of the beat are the piano keys, the Martian beeps, and that bass line. When they all come together, it sounds incredible. DJ Premier and Nas have gone on to work together on countless tracks, and they've even teased releasing a project together. But I'm sure if you were to ask them what their favorite collaboration is, they would go back to where it all started. Nas is rapping with intensity on this track, and the beat is the perfect backdrop for the tales about dark streets and crime in New York. DJ Premier is one of my favorite hip-hop producers, and he has a distinct sound very tied to the traditions of DJing and scratching on records that originated in New York, the birthplace and mecca of rap music. Every time I hear this beat, I put on the screw face because it's just that good. And it's timeless production by one of the best producers of all time. Leave a comment if you'd like me to do a video on the best hip-hop producers of all time. The runner-up for the hardest hip-hop beat of all time goes to Still Dre, produced by Dr. Dre and Melman, and I believe Scott Storch played the piano for this record as well. The song was performed by Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg, and it became one of the biggest hits in Dr. Dre's career. Dre has been well-renowned in hip-hop for his production since the early 90s, and closed out the decade with a bang. This song is definitely classic, but I'd argue that the beat does most of the heavy lifting here. As soon as you hear those piano keys, you know it's still Dre. This is one of the most iconic West Coast productions, and it shows why Dre is considered to be one of the best producers in rap and music in general. This beat was an instant classic. After taking a 7-year hiatus since his Chronic album, Dr. Dre came back with a bang. Still Dre was the first single on his 2001 album, and it set the tone for the genre and era-defining production that Dr. Dre was bringing to the forefront of the game in 1999. It's one of the most iconic pieces of hip-hop production ever made. West Coast style production was very dominant in the 90s, then it became less popular over the last few decades, and we're seeing a resurgence in this type of sound through artists like Kendrick Lamar. I believe that this beat for Still Dre could have come out in any era, and it would still have sounded off. A classic beat for sure. And now we've arrived at the hardest hip-hop beat of all time, and it goes to Grinding, produced by the Neptunes. This track was performed by Virginia duo The Clips, and what can I say, man? This beat is ridiculous. The drum pattern is one of the most iconic in the genre, and it's been beaten into lunch tables across the globe. If there's a beat that transcends the genre of hip-hop, it's this one. The Neptunes are well known for their ability to craft commercial hits at will, and in fact, at one point in time, the duo of Pharrell and Chad produced 40% of the hits on Billboard. They had their more pop-leaning sounds, but this was different. This was for the streets. The Clips, who are high school friends with Pharrell, were known for their drug-themed lyrics and larger-than-life personas. So when the Neptunes were tasked with making a track for the rap group, they tapped into their grimier repertoire and came out with a beat that will echo through time. It's similar to another Clips track, What Happened to That Boy, but this one is on steroids. The production is very sparse, similar to later production by the Neptunes on songs like Drop It Like It's Hot. The beat is already crazy, and then about 1 minute into the track, there's this extra instrumentation that only the Neptunes could include, and it sounds out of this world. Like I said, this beat was made for Pusha T and Malice to rap on, but now the beat means way more than just an instrumental for a track. Dance teams, DJs, and radio stations couldn't resist playing this banger because of the effect it would have on crowds. And that right there is the limitless power of hip-hop production, and part of the reason why the genre has taken over the globe. So that's my list of the top 10 hardest hip-hop beats of all time. Shout out to you for sticking through the whole video. Let me know in the comments what you think about this list. What beats did I miss out? And would you have had a different beat at number 1? I'd love to hear you guys' perspective on these videos. You always seem to put me onto new music or tracks that I slept on. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. I also just put out the first track from my mixtape 24 on my artist channel, so I'm gonna leave a link in the description. Make sure you go over there and show some love. Appreciate it. I also have some new videos dropping soon, so stay tuned and stay safe. Peace.